might be.
That's crazy, right?
What are your superpowers?
Superpowers, dude, I don't even know how to pee in this thing.
My favorite part of the movie and the trailer really are when Billy and Freddie kind of discover Shazam's superpower abilities, and they go through this like superpower checklist, so to speak. And he's getting it all on video. If you guys had a superpower checklist, what would be at the top of your list, David?
Well, flying.
Flying.
Yeah.
That's on the top of most people's list, I think.
Yeah, because it would be so cool and so easy, and no airports.
Yes.
No car.
No
getting
LA
stuck in
traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of that. And I've thought a lot about it. I have read a lot of comics over many years and played many video games and seen all the movies. And I think teleportation, after weighing all of the pros and cons, is definitely the way that you want to go.
The
Where
one
would you
thing
teleport?
Shazam doesn't have.
The one thing that I know. Ew. Well, life's not fair, David.
Yeah.
That's just,
You can't have it all.
you can't have it all.
Where would you
But can't
teleport?
Well, that's the thing. Like, in the same way, I mean, like, I've literally sat down and weighed all this out.
Yeah.
Flight is awesome because you can go places, like whenever you want to go there. Except that you have a lot of things, a lot of variables to consider, like wind speed, and do you need to wear like a face mask because there's like bugs and things in the air, and how fast can you get there? Teleportation is an instantaneous travel to wherever you want to go. So you get to travel a bit, but then also, as we know in comic book lore and whatnot, it's like whatever you're touching goes with you when you teleport.
Right.
So then, depending on how good you are with your digits, you could like touch like 10 bags and 10 friends, and you're all like in Bermuda in a half a second. And unless you have super strength, you're not going to be able to fly and carry everybody there.
That's true.
Guys, just put some thought into it. I mean, that's all.
You've thought about this. I guess teleportation trumps flying in a sense.
Yeah, see, trumped.
Mine would be probably getting guys to text me back. I feel like that would be good. Or like eliminating ghosting.
That was my number 2.
Oh, okay,
Getting guys
good.
to text me back was my number 2. Eliminating ghosting.
What I love about Billy and Freddie is that they are such fans of the superheroes that we kind of grew up with and loved. And you were saying, you read all the comic books, you played all the video games, and I just love their love of Superman and Batman. And I almost feel like, David, we were talking about religion earlier. I grew up in a Batman household, and it's almost like a religion. Like Batman was passed down to me, and so I just was raised loving Batman.
Oh, yeah.
So who were your guys' favorites growing up?
It was Superman when I was a kid, but it sort of turned into Batman because he was kind of cooler as you got a little older. But no, it was definitely Superman, like Christopher Reeves.
Why do you think Batman's cooler than Superman?
He's just more moodier and like cooler and
like a playboy. Like the
yeah.
whole Bruce Wayne thing is really cool, and a billionaire, and yeah, and he's got like he's got issues.
Yeah.
I mean, Superman's got issues too, but Superman is the ultimate Boy Scout. He will always choose good. He will, and he also has kind of like that, like almost like Spock meets Boy Scout because he's an alien, so he sees things much more logically and less emotionally than humans do, I suppose. So, but that also kind of makes you a bit of a square, right?
A little bit, yeah.
Like a cool square. It's hip to be square,
No,
but I mean,
fanboys are gonna
exactly.
hate you. Yeah.
I mean, and by the way, there's obviously different iterations of all of these characters as well. Yeah.
Yeah, Batman's more complex. Who was your fave?
I was actually a big X-Men kid growing up. I just loved the idea of mutants. I liked the idea. I thought it was actually the most attainable way that we could all become superheroes is like somehow in our genetic coding there's going to be some weird mutation, because that does happen. We all have weird things that happen. But
Like mutation.
Well, yeah, we do. That you get a different colored eye, or recessive genes, and but.
Puberty.
Puberty. But by the way, also why I think another reason why comic book, or at least mutants kind of speak to a lot of like prepubescent or pubescent like kids is because it goes hand in hand with that. Like you're changing, your body's changing, you don't know what's going on. Right. Same thing was going on with all these mutants. Like all of a sudden out of nowhere they can manifest flames out of their hands or can read people's minds, and how weird and crazy that is, and trying to acclimate to that. I found that very relatable, so I really liked all those mutant folks.
Yeah, I love that. A lot of people have compared this movie to Tom Hanks's Big, obviously, but there is a big reference in the film. So how did that come about, guys?
Well,
I mean, that was the natural thing to do because it is obviously, very much like Big in some ways, but better.
Hey, take it easy. We can both live.
We have superpowers.
Well, that's
They
true. We
don't
do.
have superpowers,
We do.
you know?
Yeah, but they had Penny Marshall. I mean,
Well,
that's.
yeah.
But you guys have Zachary Levi. So
I know. Well, and David F. Sandberg, thank you,
Exactly.
and Jack Dylan Grazer, and Asher Angel, and the whole smattering of incredible people. But there's more than just one reference to Big. They're homage.
things,
Like
yeah.
if you, there's a couple different moments where we were trying to kind of throw some love back that way, and also when you have an opportunity to make a movie that has this kind of heart and humor and irreverence, it's fun to have a couple moments where you're a little cheeky and you kind of nod into that. You don't break it. You don't break the story of the fourth wall, but you can lean into that, and those can be really fun little Easter eggs.
Totally. And like so nostalgic too. And there's so much nostalgia in this movie. Like we were talking about Billy's family of brothers or siblings. They're basically like this motley crew. And when I was watching it, it reminded me of like the Sandlot almost.
Yeah.
So David,
Yeah,
what
totally.
did you guys look to find that inspiration?
Well, a lot of sort of, I wanted to feel like kind of like an 80s movie, but without being, the typical sort of pastiche of an 80s movie where it takes place in the 80s and everything like that. But just have that sort of feel-good feel of like the Goonies or, all those.
Very Amblin-y.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that sort of went through all of it, even through like, when we made the score for it, like it's very sort of, towards John Williams, that type of feel to it. So, yeah, I wanted to feel like those movies without necessarily being one of those movies.
Yeah, and it makes it so like timeless too. The tone of this movie is just awesome. For Billy specifically, I personally love his story because he's moving from foster home to foster home, and I think that is a unique story to tell, especially in the superhero realm. So what was important for you guys to convey to the audience about that type of family dynamic and environment?
That at the core of it, it's that family isn't necessarily about blood. It's about finding your own family, and that anyone can be your family, which is a very positive message that is throughout the movie, really.
Yeah, and I would also add that I think just the fact that we have a movie that deals with the foster care program, that by the way is all, it's from the source material, so it's not even, this is all very much a part of the lineage of the character and now the New 52 and this whole family. And I don't know, nobody still to this day has told me about another comic character that is a foster kid or that really dives into this, and I think that's a very cool thing that and really responsibility and an honor that we have to kind of represent that fairly on screen. And and it's not it's cracked up. There's some difficult things. It must be a very difficult thing to be a 14-year-old kid who's in and out of foster programs and giving that the weight that it deserves while also not getting mired in all that could be.
Right.
And
I think it's quite unusual to show such a positive sort of foster experience as well.
Yeah.
Because in most movies, it's like, the evil foster
Yeah,
parents or
totally.
like the bad foster
Yeah.
home, where it's actually a good home, and they.
Yeah. And Marta and Cooper do such a good job of like their heart is so real and sincere in that. And they really genuinely like hung out with and took care of those kids when we were in Toronto. Like they were doing little field trips together and everything. They really built that family. It was beautiful.
Oh, I love that, guys.
Yeah.
You mentioned Zach, New 52. I want to talk about Dr. Savannah because I feel like he's somewhat of an unfamiliar villain. And so I kind of just want you guys to tell me more about him.
Well, he was sort of, he's been around for a long time. I think he came out before Lex Luthor even in the comic book world. Yeah. So he's been a very classic, like, bad guy throughout, the years. And this story is one of the few times where he actually gets powers. Because usually he's more of an evil mastermind kind of thing. But here he actually uses his mastermindery to acquire similar powers to Shazam, so we can take him on.
Right. Zach, your thoughts on Dr. Savannah and just his character as a whole?
Well, yeah, it's this whole world of OG Captain Marvel into Shazam and Dr. Savannah starting way back there, and that was like the Silver Age. I don't know, what would you call what was the beginning? The Silver Age of comics?
Golden Age.
Yeah. There was a lot of World War II evil Nazi doctor kind of stuff that's all kind of laid in there. And obviously that's not his character in this movie, but you can feel that kind of mastermindery. You know, it's a really cool, like, classic archetype of a bad guy that fits very well into a world of this classic archetype of a good guy. You know, because that's so much. It's Billy's imagination or whatever he projects as being like, this is the hero and this is what you're supposed to be and this is what you're supposed to do. And so I think that when you know, having a movie that really thematically is, aside from family and finding family, even if it's not blood, and where you can find that family, and, you know, finding your own worth in a lot of ways that Billy does, it's a really classic tale of good versus evil.
Yeah.
So in order to tell a good classic version of that, you need a good classic version of evil. You need that kind of, you know, sinister guy. And I think that Savannah as an archetype is great for that. Mark Strong is fantastic as Dr. Savannah, as an actor in general. I just think he's so unreal talented. And I think he really brought it to life really well.
I think you guys brought this to life. I mean, everything we just talked about, like, you almost get everything you've ever wanted out of a superhero movie in this movie.
Hopefully, yeah.
I'm excited for everyone to see it. Last question I have for you guys is, if you got to turn into anyone by just saying the word Shazam, who would it be and why?
Well, let's go with Batman then. Why not? I want to try that out.
He's a billionaire.
Yeah,
He's a billionaire.
Yeah,
He's a billionaire.
It's about the Benjamins.
He's edgy. He's got complex feelings.
I don't know who I'd want to. I have no idea. I maybe would want to turn into, like, somebody in a different time zone, or time zone in Pacific, in GMT. No, like a literally different era. Like, you know, it could be a normal-ish enough person, but just to experience what life was like in, like, I don't know, the 1930s or the 1820s,
or Marvelous Mrs. Maisel,
or Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, or you know, like, all of a sudden I could say a word and I was like switch with somebody that's, like, in the future, way in the future, and like, oh my God, this is where we're going.
Yeah.
I think that could be interesting. I don't know who that person is still. I have yet to meet them, or maybe I already have.